6 books for the month of May. So with work, with an Emmys push, is it possible, or am I just delusional? Hey everyone, I'm Cahill with Shelf-Esteem, and this is my May 2025 TBR. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Cahill with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a composer, now also a booktuber. You can find my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2, His Dark Materials Season 3, and the newly released The Hills of Tenjiko, the featured song in The Wheel of Time Season 3, Episode 6. So, I've been excited to do this TBR video, and I had to push it off because of a little bit of busyness last week. And so, I've been wanting to do this a little bit earlier. I usually like to put TBR videos out a week before the month begins so that any of you could jump on, but hopefully this is not too late for you guys. And I'm just going to jump on in because we have 6 books to cover, and it might seem a little crazy to try to tackle 6 books when you're so busy, but there's a couple caveats that are going to actually make this palatable and enjoyable and less pressure. So without further ado, if you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe. And now on to the books. So I've heard of Louis L'Amour for a while now. I had gotten in a vacation honeymoon with my wife. We'd gone to Alaska, and I'd picked up the book Sitka, which I'd wanted to read as an introduction to Louis L'Amour, because I don't know much about him. I know he does westerns, I know he does mysteries, so I wanted to know more about him. But I found out that there is an adaptation coming out of a book called Flint by Louis L'Amour. So I decided to pick it up, and I got it from the library, and it's kind of a strange edition. So I don't know what to make of this, but it's only 180 pages. So hence why this is actually doable in one of the 6 for the month. So let's talk a little bit about what it's about. I'm going to read the description here that I pulled up from Goodreads. So, Flint by Louis L'Amour. He left the West at the age of 17, leaving behind a rootless past and a bloody trail of violence. In the East, he became one of the wealthiest financiers in America and one of the most feared and hated. Now suffering from incurable cancer, he has come back to New Mexico to die alone. But when an all-out range war erupts, Flint chooses to help Nancy Kerrigan, a local rancher. A cold-eyed speculator is setting up the land swindle of a lifetime, and Buktun, a notorious assassin, is there to back his play. Flint alone can help Nancy save her ranch with his cash, his connections, and his gun. He still has his legendary will to fight. All he needs is time, and that's fast running out. This was released in 1960, so an older book. I think the oldest one of the books that I'm reading this coming month. And so I'm very excited about it because it's actually short. It'll be a nice little snack between the big bites that I'll be taking this coming month. I would love to know if you read any Louis L'Amour, and if you have, if this is a good place to start. I know I'm going to start it anyways just because it's being adapted, and for me that is of great interest because as a composer I always like to see what's in the pipeline. I think the best way to find out is to get into the characters, the story, the setting through the original work. So I'm very excited about that, but let me know in the comments if you would recommend any other Louis L'Amour books, and I'll definitely keep that in mind going forward, especially if I like Flint. So that is the first book I'm going to be reading. The second book is long awaited because I started reading The Expanse by James S.A. Corey last year. And I read the first 4 books and I really enjoyed them all. I would say some I liked more than others, but overall I like the trajectory of where it's going. It started off as more of a heist fantasy with a really cool crew, the Rocinante, and now it is expanding out into full-blown space opera as they travel further and further from their homes. So I'm very delighted to start Book 5, Nemesis Games. Nemesis Games. So I don't want to read what it's about because I think anything that I read about a book this far into the series will probably spoil it for you, especially if you haven't read it. But I've heard from a lot of people that this is one of the peaks of the series. So I'm interested to see how it feels for me, because I've heard kind of this is, you know, one of the high points of the series. Then book 6 is kind of a little bit more middling, or I guess you could say maybe a little bit more uneven because it sets up book 7, 8, and 9, which is kind of like almost like a trilogy of its own that completes the series. So I'm very excited to read this and kind of jump on the Expanse train. Have you all read The Expanse? If you're on the same book as well, happy to read along with you. Let me know and I will open up channels in the Discord. and on Fable, because I always like to have different read-alongs going on. We already have, an official channel read-along in Malazan Book of the Fallen, and then 3 soft read-alongs, but we can always have smaller groups breaking off, and if you want to join in the ride, I'm always happy to have you, because the better part of reading a great book is sharing it with friends, and we're all friends here. So this is the second book I will be reading. The third one should come as no surprise at all, because it is a continuation. So this is why I was telling you 6 books is actually doable in this month, because I've been kind of reading a couple of them, and I'm going to continue on that train. So this one is, of course, teasing that official channel read-along that I was mentioning earlier, and that is Malazan Book of the Fallen. So Book 3, Memories of Ice. Really cool abstract cover here. I really enjoy this cover on these mass market paperbacks. But of course, I'm not going to be reading out of this one. I'm going to be reading out of this bad boy here. Gift from my father-in-law. Thank you, John. Thank you, Terry. Memories of Ice. So this one, again, I don't want to really say too much, but I'm going to actually read the back quote, because I think the quote is really beautiful. And I'm very interested to see how this book deals with this particular theme, because Steven Erikson usually would like to write his characters around a central theme that he's trying to get across. Now, the first book was a little bit more disjointed, but really introduced the world, throws you in. The second book is very grimdark, very bleak. And the third book, I heard, kind of introduces this theme of compassion. So I'm going to read this quote for you. It says, "We humans do not understand compassion. In each moment of our lives, we betray it. Aye, we know of its worth, yet in knowing, we then attach to it a value. We guard the giving of it, believing it must be earned, telanimas. Compassion is priceless in the truest sense of the word. It must be given freely in abundance." I'm curious to hear who says this quote and what it means, because this cover is freaking awesome, by the way. Just have to highlight, the broken binding is just like crushing everything they do. I'm just such a fan of their stuff. I wish I could afford more of their stuff, but I'm very grateful that this was gifted to me, and I look forward to collecting the rest of the series. But I'm interested to see, because this back quote sounds like a tonal change, and from the first about 40% I've read of this so far, I am already feeling there's a lighter moments, there's funnier moments in it. I was actually laughing at some of the jokes in it, which was such a departure from the second book. So I'm interested to continue on this. I got 60% more to go, but I have an entire month to finish it off. So that is the third book I'm going to be reading. So let's go back to that list here. The fourth book I'm going to be reading is called Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. So I mentioned in a previous weekly update that I had started about 10 pages of it just as a kind of nightcap before I go to sleep. And it's been a really nice counterpoint to like Wars of Light and Shadow, Malazan, very dense, epic fantasy series. This is a lot more of kind of lighthearted stuff. And a little bit easier to digest, so you can kind of read it even if you're tired. So it's a nice little palate cleanser, I would say. I'm going to read what this is about on the off chance you don't know what it's about, because as of now, it has 80,000 ratings on Goodreads with a 4.52 rating on that first book. So obviously immensely popular. And for good reason, it seems, from even those first 10 pages I read. It is really fun. It says, "The apocalypse will be televised. A man, his ex-girlfriend's cat, a sadistic game show unlike anything in the universe, a dungeon crawler where survival depends on killing your prey in the most entertaining way possible. In a flash, every human-erected construction on Earth, from Buckingham Palace to the tiniest of sheds, collapses in a heap, sinking into the ground. The buildings and all the people inside have been all atomized and transformed into the dungeon, an 18-level labyrinth filled with traps, monsters, and loot. A dungeon so enormous it circles the entire globe. Only a few dare venture inside. But once you're in, you can't get out. And what's worse, each level has a time limit. You have but days to find a staircase to the next level down, or it's game over. In its game, it's not about your strength or your dexterity. It's about your followers, your views, your clout. It's about building an audience and killing those goblins with style. You can't just survive here. You got to survive big." Very interesting stuff. Like I have always been a little bit trepidatious about reading books where you have to level up and stuff. The gamified version of things, lit RPG, I believe it's called. Never been really of interest to me, but everybody who reads this raves about it, even people who are also fellow fellow book readers who are not really into that type of a subgenre in fantasy. So I'm interested to see how I feel. And so far, I gotta say, it's quite fun. So I'm excited to check that out. And let me know in the comments also if you've read Dungeon Crawler, Carl. And I've only read 10 pages of it. So if you would like to start with me, we can always open up another channel on the Discord, like I was saying. Those are all linked below, by the way, so you can check those out if you haven't joined the Discord. We have about 70 fellow book addicts who are very supportive of each other's book addictions and just being a wonderful, wonderful friendship community there. So you can check that out below. So that was the 4th book. The 5th book I want to read is a gift that I got from Joseph the Doan, as he likes to be called, on the Discord, and a friend of the channel. And this book is called Solenoid. Now, I've read about 60-something pages of this now. It's about 700 pages, so it's a pretty chunky book. It is unlike anything I've ever read. And I was trying to find a good description that would shed more light on it, but it actually makes it even more confusing. So I just try to describe it the best I can. It's like, it's almost semi-autobiographical, but it's got some magical realism in it. It's got some sci-fi tendencies, and it even explores history, philosophy, mathematics in the context of this guy's depression as he's working as a teacher in Romania in the 70s and 80s. Completely random assortment of things, but man, this author, Mircea Cărtărescu, is a force. Some of the best prose I've ever read. Really, I truly mean that. And I feel so spoiled because I'm reading Stephen Erikson, Jenny Wirtz, and now Mircea Cărtărescu. And I'm just like, wow, from reading, more basic prose to reading 3 heavy hitters like that all in 1 month. Pretty awesome. So I'm very excited to continue on this train and kind of see what this is all about. But this is, I'm very grateful to Joseph because he introduced me to this, and we've had a lot of great conversations on the Discord, and it's so, in some ways, it explores themes and topics that are very in line with what's interesting to me, spiritualism, mathematics, theories, and all that stuff. But also, it is a completely different type of book than I normally read. And I've been trying to step out of my comfort zone. You saw Flint is also on the list by Louis L'Amour. Trying to step out of my comfort zone, try other things. So I'm really grateful. Joseph, again, thank you so much for this beautiful copy of Solenoid. And I'm very excited to continue on that journey as well. So that's the 5th book. And last but definitely not least, and this one, again, I want to tell you a little bit more about what it's about, but I'll just give you the preface of the series as a whole, because this is book 2 in the series, The Bound and the Broken by Ryan Cahill. So I started I got about 70 pages deep, and then I had to set it down because life got in the way, as it often does. But this is book 2 of The Bound and the Broken, and this is called Of Darkness and Light. We're doing this as a soft read along on our channel here below. You could check that out. It's on the FABLE, it's on the Discord. But think of it as there is not the regular prophecy, but there is a couple of people who might influence the world. It's kind of dragon rider fantasy. It starts off very tropey in the first book, but I've heard the second book is where it goes off in its own direction and becomes its own thing. And it's very interesting because the prologue kind of prequel novella, which kind of serves as a prologue, it takes place 500 years before book 1, which is called The Fall, is very different, I thought, than some of the tropes that you see in book 1. So I already got a little bit of a teaser of what to expect in book 2 of Darkness and Light, and I've heard it's that much better. And then it just keeps getting better as it goes. So, I know of Empire and Dust. The 4th book is coming out soon. So I'm not going to be caught up by the time it comes out, of course. But I'm definitely going to keep on reading because I'm really enjoying this journey. And even the most predictable parts, I feel like are quite enjoyable as well. So that is my 6. But I would love to know, as I always like to ask, what is on deck for you guys this month? Anything on this list? Anything not on this list? Anything you'd recommend? Anything you would say, like, to hell with your TBR, Nikhil? Try these books instead. I guarantee you'll like them more than what you're reading. Let me know in the comments as well, because I always love to have that dialogue with you all. And that's the fun part about this channel, is we all develop friendships. We all try to introduce each other to authors that mean a lot to us. And we're very protective of the works that mean a lot to us, because oftentimes we read them in formative years. They inform a lot of our worldview. And so we identify with them to some extent, whether it be books that are out of our wheelhouse, whether it be books that are contrarian to how we think. It still develops our worldview, so we're gonna be protective of those, and we also want to share it with the world. So please feel free to share your recommendations down below. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Be good to each other, be good to yourselves, And as always, I will see you on the next video. Take care.